everybody, I'm Chris Lyon with the Prize Foundation, and we are here today. I have a fantastic filmmaker on the hook, but before we get to our conversation with Matthew, I want to remind everybody about Film Prize and Prize Fest coming up. The dates are September 24th through October 2nd. The Film Prize portion of that is going to be September 30th. That's a Thursday, and the films will run all the way through the end of Saturday, October 2nd. And of course, you'll be able to check out film and music and fashion and comedy. And what am I missing? Film, food, fashion, comedy, food. Of course, how could I possibly forget food? Thank you, Matthew, for putting that in there. And so you can check out all this information about what's going on at Prize Fest this year, including the artists that are participating, the films, the filmmakers, chefs, and the designers and everything, all at prizefest.com, where you can also go and buy your tickets. And as you're buying your tickets, just keep in mind that Prize Fest will be an event that requires either proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test within 72 hours of arrival at the festival. Very important that we try to keep everybody safe. And for those of you who want to participate in Film Prize, we have a number of options that will help you in that way, which is one, of course, we have the classic film venues, but we also have an open air outdoor cinema that we're setting up this year. And we're going to be streaming all the films at prizefest.com. You can choose that in-person or online experience when you're buying your tickets. So we hope that you join us in whatever way that you feel comfortable enjoying it with us. But without any further ado, I do want to jump into our interview with Matthew Carona, who is the director of Independence. So let's jump in. Matthew, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. This is an honor.
Well, I do want to jump in because you are a new filmmaker to the Film Prize Top 20, and I want to get your gut reaction on that in a second, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the film that you've made?
Okay, I'm a full-time farmer from Independence, Louisiana. The film that we made really circulates around that town, around Independence, but it's more of a message to all small towns. It deals with a lot of loss. It deals with a lot of change, and you certainly see that in the character, what he's going through, but also in the town itself. Businesses are being lost, buildings are changing hands, and things are just changing, ever changing. And I think especially now, after COVID, we've seen a lot of businesses have to sadly close their doors, and we've all lost people that are close to us. And it's an honest tale.
Right, and that makes it a very timely project. At the risk of having you repeat something you may have just said, but what is it that drew you to this project in particular? Why tell this story and why now?
Well, back in 2016, I did a play I acted in a play with Jeff Polito, who is the star of Independence. He and I met, and we both kind of had this connection. We didn't know that we're both from Independence. And throughout the course of the show, we would always make jokes, and he would say, "Hey, do you know something?" "Oh, yeah, I know something." And for about 4 or 5 years, we did that. We went back and forth about, "Man, do you remember Gina's Cafe? God, Gina's was so good," and just constantly making these old connections. And whenever I first heard about the Prize Fest, we had kind of been referencing a few movies, kind of been watching a couple different stories and looking for an angle. And I kind of was like, man, what about this old little rundown town? Like, what about our town? And that's kind of where it all came from, was from this little town of Independence.
Absolutely. And so you've spoken how you are working as a farmer. How did you get into the arts, and how did you get into filmmaking specifically?
Sure. Well, my dad was a farmer. I mean, I'm fourth generation of Italian immigrants. So when my ancestors first came over, that's what they started doing, was working on farms. And then eventually my great-grandfather saved up enough and got some more land, just kind of there. It kind of kept going. But I played baseball whenever I was in high school, and in college I played as well, but I had an injury that really set me back, and I kind of had to look at what I wanted to do. And acting was always something that I was interested in. I always wanted to try. And in college, I started acting, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And it wasn't, especially doing theater, because you have to really understand the entire project. You're going from start to finish every night. And I think something about learning not just my role and my part of the show, but everyone, is what really helped me see film in a different light. I've always loved movies. Everyone loves movies. Things that, I mean, I say it all the time. I learn more from movies than I did from school, and I think everyone does. And just having that opportunity to do theater where you get to see the entire project as a director, it makes you step back and say, this is what film is about. This is how you make that leap from stage to film. And it's because, whenever you're making a movie, every day is a different scene. You could jump 3 or 4 scenes ahead, and you have to remember what is the goal of this story? What is the end game? And you have to keep the whole story in mind. So I think that's really what did it, was my jump into theater, is ironically what made me want to do film.
Right on. And, thinking about this project and realizing that you had this story to tell that was based on your hometown, what made you want to participate in the film prize, and how did that come about?
So the film prize is something that I had heard through a couple different grapevines. Actually, Kyle Clements, he's from my hometown. He actually won back in 2013. And I remember thinking, wow, man, if Kyle can do it, it seems like it's like such an achievable goal. It puts it into perspective when it's someone that As far as, I was very intimidated by Film Prize. I'll be honest. My team, we had done a lot of 1 minute, 2 minute films, and we were really kind of getting our feet wet. And then finally we said, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just try it. And we turned our friends into boom operators, and we turned our cousins into camera operators at times, and it was a blast.
That is the beautiful part of independent filmmaking. I mean, I remember certainly doing that, and when I was starting off in my early days of filmmaking, was like, here, all you have to do is hold it like this and just stay still, and it'll be just fine. I'll do everything for you. You just hold it and it'll be perfect.
Absolutely.
So, thinking about this film prize experience that you're about to jump into, what is it that you're most looking forward to from the festival, and what is it that you are hoping that the audiences are able to kind of to see in your project?
I think what I'm most looking forward to is just being in a space as size as Film Prize, where everyone is so in love with movies and everyone just wants to talk about film, whether it's ours or not. Just to be able to talk about film with people. I don't think I've ever had that opportunity in a room full of that many people. As far as our film, I just hope people can take away that, yeah, we've had a rough couple of years pass, but there's still good everywhere we look. There's still a lot of good to be seen, regardless of how trying these times are. There's still a lot of good left out there.
Right. So I jumped ahead a little bit in my question. So I do want to go back, because you talked about turning people into crew members and that sort of thing. And of course, you're filming in and around your town. Give us a little bit of insight on what set was like. Did you guys film everything in one weekend, or did you do it over several different days or weeks? And was there crew members that were being swapped out based on their availability? Like, give us the sense there.
So I had to work around strawberry season, of course, because strawberries is our big crop. So once the strawberries were done, and it was about the end of February, closing in on March, I was kind of polishing up the script, and my lead actor, Jeff Polito, he's a school teacher, and I knew he had the summers off, so I was like, okay, he's gonna be free. So we had a 12-day shoot, actually, and we had a few different locations. Some were trying. We shot in a post office. We shot a lot of exterior magic hour stuff, a lot of vehicle driving around stuff. Of those 12 days, about 9 days, there were just three of us on set. It was me, Jeff Polito, and Kayla Rochelle. And Jeff would be slating scenes, putting the slate down, and then acting it out. And I was there filming. Kayla was holding the microphone. But absolutely, depending on what the location was, people were certainly changing hands. We use my family farm a lot. There's when Nick finally goes home to his parents' house. That's actually a trailer at our farm that our labor gets to live in whenever they come over through the H2A program. And I knew that was going to be vacant all summer, so we got to go in and we decorated with all of Jeff's childhood pictures, and he was pretty embarrassed by it, but I mean, it was great. We got to make him uncomfortable in the space, as the character should be. And when we were in that trailer, unless there was dialogue, there were about 3 people on set. There's a few scenes in the movie that are really dialogue heavy where we had a couple of extra hands come out, but depending on who was there and what the scene called for, certainly we were saying, okay, Tyler, you're going to slate now, and Matt, why don't you hold the mic? And it was certainly an adventure. I was always behind the camera. That's one thing I'm fascinated with is frames and lenses. So I really knew the look of it, but everybody was just so dedicated to do whatever it took. You know, everyone knew the story, and they just wanted to help tell it no matter what. That's awesome. So when you think about that film prize experience that you're going to have, there's going to be obviously a lot of filmmakers to, I don't know if it's celebrate or commiserate about the filmmaking process together. And of course, the audience members and the judges. But looking past kind of all of that and thinking about that moment where we're all sitting together at the awards brunch, and there's a giant check that gets brought out, and it's covered by a veil, and that veil gets pulled away, and the name Independence is written on that check. What's going through your mind, and what happens to that $25,000? Do you have plans for it, or what do you think? I mean, if that veil says Independence, I'm going to be thinking about all the talent in that room, and we brought it home. I don't know. We know it's so funny that you bring it up, because the $25,000 was never even an option for us. We had a running joke while we were shooting, like, man, if we can just go to this festival and if we come back with a sound guy, we'll be so happy. But certainly we have many other projects that we've talked about pursuing, and we've even talked about flushing this out into a feature film, because there's so many different avenues that it can go down with that farm and this town. There's so many different routes. So absolutely. I mean, just gear, our camera, we have a Sony A7 II that we shot everything on, and I've acquired some lenses during strawberry season last year. But absolutely, I mean, just as far as gear and future projects, that's the whole reason we do this is to get better, right? And if we're not telling stories, if we're not moving forward, then we're just standing still. I love that philosophy. I appreciate you sharing it with me. So as we are kind of moving towards the end of this interview, I wondered if you might kind of be able to tell us what it is that, like, if you were kind of standing outside the theater and people were coming out having just seen the set of films that your film is a part of, and they are talking about it, what would kind of be your dream? Like, if you were overhearing someone talk about it, what kind of things would you be listening for and hoping they would be saying or discussing? Oh man, that's a loaded question. So many different things. I really about Independence or about all films? Well, I think about Independence in particular. I mean, I know that this film is incredibly performance driven, just as one example. So one thing might be how great this performance is from your lead, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. But yes, about your film in particular. Absolutely. Our cinematography. I mean, we really busted our butts to make sure that we were in the right place at the right time. We were constantly watching that sun and watching those clouds, and if it wasn't right, then we were coming back the next day to get it right. like you said, it's very, very performance driven. And this is, I really wanted to push my friend Jeff with this character, because I think a big part of what we're doing, what all of us, and whether you made top 20 or not, all of independent filmmaking is facing your fears. And I thought, what bigger fear for my lead actor to go through than the loss of his father? And I thought it really be something that could help kind of push him in a positive way. Yeah, and not just him. I mean, our entire cast, everybody worked their butts off, and they all deserve to have their credits up there. And I think our sound too, because like I said, we have been lacking a sound guy, but man, we worked really hard for it on this one. So that's it.
Fantastic. Well, I think that we're reaching the end of our time together. Is there anything else that you wanted to say to the audience when they're thinking about voting for you, or what do you want them to know going in that we haven't discussed already?
I'm sure as soon as we hang up, I'll think about it. But I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting this, and not just for me, for all the other filmmakers, because this is my first time being a part of this, but I know that it has certainly been a special experience, and I just look forward to what's coming, you know.
Absolutely. All right. So before we go, we're going to do, you probably are familiar a little bit with the toast that we do at the end of our times together. So we'll do Viva la Film Prize on 3, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Viva la Film Prize.